guys are with Local 142. What is the what do you guys represent? What does the Local 142 do?
Well, 142 is
Oh, hold on. There you go. Here, look a little closer to the mic.
142 is an amalgamated local. Our charter enables us to represent basically any workers within our jurisdiction, which is Lake and Porter County, Indiana, and Calumet City, Illinois.
And what are you guys doing here?
Well, basically, we came today to talk about right to work.
Yeah, with the obviously the legislation going to kick back in service next week, right?
Yeah, on the 4th.
And obviously the Mitch Daniels, the GOP have been really pushing for this right to work thing. What is the definition of right to work? Because I've always, you hear that it's kind of been a phrase that's going on for a while. You see that a lot in southern states. It seems to be very popular down there. What does right to work mean?
Well, basically, it's a term that they like to use to try and convince people that RTW legislation, right to work, will somehow give them a job, basically, that there's some problem with jobs coming to the state because it's not an open state right to work. And it's a nice term, but actually the right to work legislation actually interferes with good jobs coming to a state, and also income drops, benefit drops. The point I'd like to make, Indiana isn't broke. We don't need to fix it. Indiana is number 2 in attracting manufacturing jobs. It's listed number 4 by a site selector trade journal. Indiana is doing really well. We already outperform RTW states. Manufacturing workers already earn $2.17 more an hour than manufacturing workers in RTW states. Indiana workers more likely to have a pension, health care, education. Our children in our schools outperform the kids in RTW states. Indiana is not broke. This RTW legislation will not bring jobs. The chamber report that they go by actually states that there'll be a reduction in income, reduction in wages, which supposedly is going to attract businesses, and then there'll be a trickle-down effect, which will eventually raise all boats. Well, how's that worked the last 30 years?
Why is it all of a sudden been? It seems to be this past year. We talked to Ryan a little bit about the top stories of 2011 sports stuff. But you think about 2011, and one of the news stories, especially here in the state of Indiana, has been the attack on unions. Whether it's the teachers' union with the big story with the Democrats doing what they had to do. Obviously, I'm a Democrat, so obviously I sort of agree with that principle. But the fact is, they had to, fight for that. Why is there this attack in the state of Indiana, Steve?
What it is basically the Democrats, the unions pretty much fund the Democrat Party. We're one of the biggest contributors to the Democratic Party. So by weakening the unions, you weaken the Democratic Party as a whole, which that's what the GOP's plan is to do, is to weaken the Democratic Party as a whole. When you said right to work, the definition of right to work means that basically as a employee, you have the right not to be in the union, even though it's a union shop. Like our hall, if you decided not to pay union dues by this right to work law, our local would still have to represent you without you contributing to the union.
So, like, in essence,
right.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, basically, I should get the same discounts, but I don't have to pay anything.
Correct.
Like, I should get the, the whatever you want to look at with the discounts, or not discounts, but
same benefits.
Same benefits as well as a thing. I was just thinking, like, in terms of, when you, as a layman or whatever, you can be a club or something.
Right.
I should be able to go golf at a golf club, even though I'm not a member there, or stuff like that.
As far as being a member, I love being a member of Local 142. It gives me the right of voice and all that stuff. And one of the things, by having the option to opt out, like these members would have, no funding comes into our hall. But our BAs and all that would still have to represent these guys.
Isn't there a rule or a law, or is it a law that already says that if you are a member, you can choose that your dues do not go towards a political funding?
Yeah, right now there's a law that states that none of our dues goes towards political funding. What we have is an option to get into Drive, which is Democratic, Republican, Independent voter education, and that's all voluntarily. What it, but as far as our union dues, none of it goes towards any type of campaign. Drive is a additional if we choose to participate in that. So none of the union dues go towards campaigns.
And under current labor law, no one who has a job through union membership has to be a union member. They can choose not to be a member of the union, and they can choose not to pay dues, but an agency fee, which covers the cost of the collective bargaining agreement. So people already have these quote-unquote rights. No one's being forced to join a union at this time. No one is being forced to pay union dues, which a part of might go to something that they object to. This has already been adjudicated and is part of our federal labor law.
Do you mind if we take some phone calls?
Oh, please.
Let's go to George on line 1. George, you're on with Jeff, Bert, and Steve.
Jeff, yeah, I just want some clarification on what you just said. You said that they don't have to pay union dues, but there is a fee that they do have to pay. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Okay, so yeah, I was just wondering. I was just going to ask you before I heard you just say that whether or not something like that, under the concept of unjust enrichment, whether this thing had been litigated and how you guys would have to be forced to represent somebody in a collective bargaining situation, not, again, for nothing. I mean, I just wondered, but you said it's been adjudicated, so you do have the right to charge that fee, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
Now we do, but with this right to work law, we wouldn't.
Really?
Like there will be no fee. So anyone who's if this right to work law goes through, guys who choose to opt out of the union, our hall will still have to represent them for free. I mean,
well then that reinstates my question. How can they? There's principles of equity. How can they? How do they get away with that? I mean, that just seems unconstitutional. Because you can't just take advantage of somebody like that. You just unjust enrichment is what they call it.
Right, and I agree with you. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce doesn't do their work for free. All their members pay a dues or a fee to be part of the Chamber of Commerce. But if you don't pay that due or fee, they won't represent you.
Yeah, I just don't see how you guys. Anyway, I'm just curious. I just hope you have your lawyers ready because that's crazy. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, George.